So Gengar, he's the final evolution of Ghastly and Haunter, and you get him by trading, which is why I'm so glad in Sword and Shield they made it so you can get him without trading, because it kind of sucked not being able to get him in older games if you didn't have someone that you could trust to either trade you a good Haunter or someone you could trade your Haunter to and then get it back. But he has 60 health, 60 defense, which is, and 75 special defense. He's not the tankiest of things. He can survive some special hits, but almost every physical hit will one-shot, or pretty much one-shot. 65 attack, not a physical attacker at all. 130 special attack and 110 speed is pretty good. He isn't the fastest, but he has a good amount of damage and he has really good moves. So as long as he doesn't get outsped and blown up by a physical hit, he'll do good. His ability is Cursed Body, which is not as good as Levitate. And it kind of sucks that they took away his Levitate in Gen 6. Gen 6 was the last time he had Levitate, and it sucks that he doesn't have it anymore because Levitate's a really good ability, especially when it's a really good ability, and it's an immunity to ground, which, considering his weaknesses, it's pretty good. He's weak to ground, ghost, psychic, and dark. When he had Levitate, he was immune to ground, which was really good. But he used to have 3 immunities, but he's immune to normal and fighting because of the ghost. And he resists poison, bug, grass, and fairy, which it's pretty good resistances. It's pretty good because he's immune to 2, 4 resistances, and 4 weaknesses, but pretty much a weakness will one-shot him. So stay away from Alakazams because they outspeed and one-shot him. But Cursed Body, if he's hit by an attack, there's 30% chance to get it disabled. So it's really good if you have a Sash and their specs, they're banded, whatever, they use Outrage, whatever, and it gets disabled, they're in trouble because then they either have to struggle or switch out, which is really good. Also Mega Gengar with the Shadow Tag is good, but he's no more Megas. Also, he has a Gigantamax form, which is this. He has a Gigantamax move too in Sheer Terror or Gmax Terror, which makes it so they can't switch out or flee, which it's pretty good. Also, I think it's a good move. It makes it pretty much so if they see Gengar, and I mean it's whatever because they can't switch, but not many situations where you'd want to switch like that. I mean, it would be really good if they have like a tag or something, or they have the red card. Not red card. I forgot what it is. It's not red card, but the one that lets them switch out when they're hit, or something like that. It just keeps them from switching or flying, which it's decent. It's not the best, but it fits Gengar really well. But one way to run Gengar is just all out attacks, Life Orb, pretty much. You can run either, depending on what you want. If you want more speed, you can run I think it's Timid. You can run Timid, but if you want more special attack, you can run Modest. I would say run Timid unless you're using Gengar as like a cleanup. Gengar's fast and everything, and then Modest, and he'll do a ton of damage and pretty much take everything out if you use him as a cleanup. But if not, I would run Timid just to be safe because Gengar can get blown up really hard, especially with Life Orb because you're taking away your own health. But pretty much Shadow Ball and Sludge Wave are guaranteed because they're stab and they do good damage. You don't have to run Shadow Ball, but I would for the coverage. Sludge Wave does a lot with 100% accuracy. Thunderbolt, I think, is really good. Thunderbolt's really good coverage. And then you can run Energy Ball. You can run Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball. You don't have to run Dazzling Gleam. Well, it's just what you want. You want Dazzling Gleam or Energy Ball in that last spot for the most part between those two. But another way to run is Sash. This is more risky when it comes to Gengar. You could it's a lot more risky. You want to Hypnosis, and if they fall asleep, then that's great. You could Dream Eater, Sludge Wave, whatever, do a lot of damage. If they don't Hypnosis, they could either set up on you, or they risk setting up on you, and then you can get another Hypnosis, or they hit you and they bring you with the Sash. And then if they hit you with the Sash, you could either Destiny Bond and bait them into KOing, get a 1-for-1. It works out. Against certain Pokemon, you could just attack with Sludge Wave and 2-shot them. They bring in something else, and you Destiny Bond and get 2-for-1. I've definitely run Speed because you want to outspeed a lot. But Dream Eater also heals you. Probably won't make that much of a difference unless you get 2 Hypnosis to land back to back and then you do it. But that's one way to run. This is more high risk. But also this is a Gmax one, Life Orb, and then just Thunder, Dream Eater, Sludge Wave, Shadow Ball. The plan is pretty much Dynamax Psychic's really good because it gives you Psychic Terrain, so they can't use priority. So I'd really run speed. Sludge Wave gives you plus special attack, so raise your special attack. So I think you're pretty much guaranteed you need to run speed on this. Because one thing you could do is hit them, they hit you, and then you either, depending on what you use first, also Thunder does a lot of damage, so it's good. But depending on what you need to do, you can hit them once, and either, pretty much what you want to do is hit them twice, and then get the Psychic Terrain and the Sludge Wave if you know they have priority, or you could just Sludge Wave twice and get the +2. Only thing that sucks is if you get outsped, but if you can get speed and a Gengar beforehand, Gengar will do a lot. Plus Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball lowers your special defense, or G-Max. This would be G-Max Terror, so it'll keep him from switching. But that's one way to run them. I wouldn't really run Dazzling Gleam at this point because you need Sludge Wave and Dream Eater, I would say, just to be safe with the Psychic Terrain and the Sludge Wave. If you want to run G-Max Terror, I would say run Shadow Ball. You could run Dazzling Gleam in that last spot, but I wouldn't actually. Don't run Dazzling Gleam because it gets rid of the Psychic Terrain unless you really want the Fairy Terrain. I forgot what it's called. I think it's Mystic Terrain. Whatever. If you want the Psychic or the Fairy version, then I would run it. But then it takes over that one, so I wouldn't really do it. This is this is what Gengar is known for, just the trickery. Pretty much Will-O-Wisp speed. I think you need to be timid for this one too. But you bring them on a physical attacker. Will-O-Wisp. If it misses, you're just screwed. But if it lands, you lower their special attack, or you cut their attack in half. They hit you. Probably Proctor Berry. Hopefully you get Cursed Bodies too, but it's not a big thing. And then Hex. You do a ton of damage with Hex Will-O-Wisp. You could run Toxic, but the only thing about Toxic is you're not gonna. If they hit you after Toxic, you pretty much have to run a Sash, and it doesn't get the same effect. But pretty much you want to Will-O-Wisp a physical attacker and then Hex it. And if they try to set up to try to Swords Dance, whatever, to try to raise their attack to get over the Will-O-Wisp, you can clear Smog, still do some damage, and get rid of it. And when you know if they switch into something else, or you know you're about to get taken out, you just Destiny Bond and go 1-for-1 with Gengar. So that's one thing you can do. But some of the other moves he learns are, you can also run Specs. I'm not a big Specs person. Like, unless it's Scarf, I don't like running the choice items because they switch out and then you're in trouble. But Curse, you could do Curse things, but Gengar will take himself out at that point. I would like running Destiny Bond instead of Curse, because once you Curse, they're gonna hit you and KO you, so it doesn't matter. But Disable, he's fast enough. Disable and Encore have the same uses pretty much because he's so fast that Encore is a little better because you can switch in on a normal. They could have used a normal move or fighting. You switch in and Encore, and they're forced into the normal fighting move. So where you're immune and they have to switch out. You could Encore Disable, but they would probably switch out before. That's why it sucks he didn't have. Like, if he had Shadow Tag, it'd be so good to Encore Disable. But you could also disable if you know they're Scarfed or something, and it's their last one, or you just don't want them using that move against you. You can disable. But some of the other stuff he learns Nasty Plot. You could also, for the Hypnosis set, you could Hypnosis. Maybe get rid of Destiny Bond for Nasty Plot. So you put him to sleep, you Nasty Plot, and then either you Dream Eater or Sludge Wave and just take out everything. You could also Dynamax if you want, but like you Dynamax into the Psychic Terrain so they can't use priority while you're on 1 health if they hit you through it, or if one of your Hypnosis misses. Just to be safe, you could do that, but you're at a Dynamax with 2 health, so it's high risk. But they can't hit you with priority because Psychic Terrain. But he also learns Nasty Plot, Explosions. Some of the moves on here are from an older generation. There's no point in running Giga Drain when you have an Energy Ball. You could run Focus Blast, high risk, high reward. You could run Focus Blast on the Dynamax set, but I wouldn't really recommend it because it gives you +1 attack, but that's not going to matter. Foul Play, you could run that because it uses their attack stat. There's no point of Haze when you have... Haze, okay. You could use Haze instead of Hex, or Haze instead of Clear Smog in case you run into a Steel type, but other than that, Clear Smog's better. Nightshade's always an option, just for the flat damage. It also learns Plane Split. I wouldn't really recommend it, but you could. Perish Song's good. Perish Song's good in doubles, I would say, more than anything, but I think there are better Perish Song users. Psychic's a really good option if you want. If you don't want to, especially in the Dynamax one, if you don't want to run Dream Eater and pretty much have an useless move once you undynamax, you could have Psychic instead. Still good. Seismic Toss is the same as Nightshade, but it's pretty much it. He doesn't learn many. You could also Taunt. He's also fast with Taunt. He also has Poison and Trick. You could Choice Scarf, Trick, something like that with Gengar. He's fast enough to do it. You could do that. Trick slower Pokemon and trick him into setup. But Gengar doesn't learn that many crazy moves that are like, oh, I wouldn't expect. Well, he learns a couple, Hypnosis and Dream Eater, but that's pretty much it for Gengar. Also, Metronome if you want to just Metronome. Because why not? It's just good. Skill swap could be good. Skill swap could be really good if they have a really good ability. If they have like Mold Break or something like that and you want to get rid of it from them, you could Mold Break, or you could skill swap to take it away from them, or you could skill swap a better ability onto Gengar. But you always risk Gengar just getting blown up and taken out, so it doesn't really help that much. Gengar, I guess Gengar doesn't learn Gravity this generation. Does Gengar not learn Gravity? He used to learn Gravity. He doesn't learn Gravity anymore. He used to learn Gravity, so you used to be able to Gravity Hypnosis, and Hypnosis would be almost guaranteed to land. Sorry about that. It could almost be guaranteed to land, but that's pretty much that's how you use Gengar in Pokemon Sword and Shield. I hope you enjoy it.